挑飞机，然后我今天请到一位特殊的嘉宾，就是 Mike Singer， 他是丹佛掘金队的跟队记者，在国内很多掘金队的资讯都是从他这边获取的。然后今天我也是很荣幸能邀请他来聊一聊约基奇，聊一聊掘金这支球队。So first of all, Mike, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
And, so right now we are at the All-Star, and Nikola Jokic, two-time All-Star. So, like, do you think what's his next goal? And in your mind, how are you ranking like top 5 or top 10 player?
Player or center?
Player.
I think he's a top 10 player. First of all, obviously he struggled initially. He had a tough first month and a half of the season, but since that time he's been playing at an MVP level, and that's obviously why he got voted into the All-Star game. I believe he was 4th in the Western Conference front court voting. In my opinion, for Nikola Jokic to take the next step from a perception-wise, I think that it needs to be from a team-wide perspective. He finished 4th in the MVP voting last year, so he clearly has, gotten people to take notice and has earned some notoriety. But in my opinion, the Nuggets need to go to the conference finals or potentially to the finals for people to recognize how impressive of a player he is, that he deserves to be talked about among the league's elite players. Like I said, I think he's a top 10 player. If Jokic were to lead them beyond either the Clippers or the Lakers and get them to the conference finals, I think people will recognize how important and invaluable he is to what the Nuggets do. And then I think he's going to get their respect. I mean, the Nuggets are an under-the-radar team. He's sort of an under-the-radar, all-star. But to people who watch him up close, there's no question how much he lifts the entire team up and makes them dangerous, especially come in the postseason.
So, in my perspective, I think he's the best center in the league. I mean, the best center. Yeah, the best center in the league. Not many centers can be a go-to guy for a team. I think Nikola Jokic, he made some brother beaters for the Nuggets already, and so I think he's probably the only go-to center in the league. Like Joel Embiid, any other centers, I don't think they can.
No, Al Horford's coming off the bench now, so no.
Yeah. Okay. So you've covered Jokic for a couple of seasons.
Yes.
I think he's a very fun guy.
He's a very fun guy.
How would you describe his personality? Any story you can share with us?
This is a superstar who doesn't have an ego, or if he has an ego, it is very minimal compared to the rest of the NBA superstars. He doesn't take himself too seriously. I think he feels fortunate to be in the position he's in. He's worked hard. That's not to say that he was given this position, but the fact that he is as good as he is, I don't think that he ever thought he was going to be this good. He's a second-round pick. I mean, it's a lot different than the guys who were hyped up from the time that they were teenagers in the AAU programs. He sort of came through Europe. He played in the Adriatic League, came over. He's had a humbling career to this point. That's why I think he doesn't take himself so seriously. He's very funny. When you get him one-on-one, he just sort of jokes around all the time. We have a couple running jokes. He was very happy to see more Serbian media yesterday than American media, which was pretty funny. There are a couple regulars who were there at his session yesterday at All-Star Weekend. He was so much happier to see the Serbian media because he has to deal with us every single day.
So after the All-Star break, it's time for teams to finish this season. So for the Nuggets, I just want to go back and go through the trade deadline. They just let Malik and Wedge of that. So how do you think about this? Why did the Nuggets join that 14 trade?
So none of the Nuggets' top 10 guys were traded, in my opinion. Malik very well may have been a top 10 guy in some people's perspectives, but he wasn't playing a lot of consistent minutes. He wasn't necessarily a go-to guy for the Nuggets, even though he may have had that potential. Obviously, we've seen what he's done in Minnesota in 3 games. He's scored over 22 points a game, leading the team in shots. So he has that capability as a player. You're not asking him to do something he's not capable of, but it just didn't fit within the Nuggets' depth chart. They prioritize defense and they prioritize sharing the ball. You need to warrant trust on the defensive end, which Malik Beasley did not necessarily warrant trust all the time. Part of the reason they moved him was because of the financial flexibility. The Nuggets did not necessarily want to pay Juancho and Malik Beasley going into restricted free agency this summer. In addition to that, they got a first-round pick in return. So Their playoff rotations were left completely intact, and they got a first-round pick back, and they sort of clarified who their go-to key guys are for the second half of the season.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I think both Malik and Wancho, they are underrated. I think they are very solid shooters. They can shoot 3 points. And we already see their performances in the team. They both of them play starting right now.
Right.
So, and their shooting percentage is like consistent. So, I don't know, maybe they have, Nuggets already have Michael Porter Jr. and Jeremy Grant. They're like wing players like that. I think the problem is part of the
It definitely is part of the reason, like I was saying, the depth. So they have Torrey Craig, who, when everybody's healthy, probably won't be in the starting lineup, but he is an excellent defender. He's probably their best defender. Michael Porter Jr., they didn't want to have anybody in front of him potentially blocking his development and blocking his rise and what he's capable of. So, anything that was sort of impeding his progress was probably not necessary for the team. And so in my opinion, a lot of it, to your point, did come down to the depth chart. I do think Wancho is a lot better player than he has shown this season. He struggled pretty significantly from the three-point line. So it was hard for Coach Michael Malone to justify playing him when he was struggling so much from the three-point line. And Beasley, like we talked about, he just did not have a clear, defined role when you have Jeremy Grant in the wing, when you have Michael Porter Jr. in the wing, when you have Torrey Craig defending people like he is, and Gary Harris. I don't know if there's a defender who Michael Malone trusts more than Gary Harris. So that really, I think it was a confluence of factors that led to the trade.
How would you predict Nuggets upcoming playoff run? How far would they go in this year's playoff?
So I think that I would be surprised if the Nuggets did not get to the second round, and this is where they got to last year. And then it totally depends on matchups. If they happen to get all the way to the #1 seed, I think they're 4 games behind the Lakers at this point. If they get to the #1 seed, I envision them getting to the conference finals, because then theoretically they wouldn't have to see the Lakers or the Clippers in the second round, which would be an unbelievable advantage for them. And so if they can get to the 1 seed, then they're in great shape. If it's the 2 seed or the 3 seed, then you have to deal with potentially one of the LA teams in the second round. That's a difficult matchup for the Nuggets. I think the Lakers are a little bit harder for them because of their size than the Clippers. So it depends on matchups. I'm really looking in that second round conference finals range for where they can go. And if the matchups break for them and they really get on a roll, I would not be stunned if they ended up in the finals. I don't know that they would be favored against a team like Milwaukee, but this is a team that has the potential, when healthy and firing on all cylinders, with Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and potentially Michael Porter Jr. To go exceedingly far in the postseason.
How would the Nuggets let Jamal be better to help the team to win the championship?
In my opinion, Jamal Murray needs to develop more as an all-around playmaker and do it more consistently. Since he's come back from his ankle injury, I think he's averaging about 26 or 27 points per game. He's been playing fantastic. I do think he's battling that ankle injury, and you want to see him obviously get healthy throughout this break. And if he can maintain that energy and play as a #2 alongside Nikola Jokic, I think they have a very dangerous 1-2 punch that can rival some of the best 1-2 punches in the Western Conference. They're not as good as the 1-2 of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but keep in mind that Jamal Murray is just 22 years old. He's a borderline all-star. I think that I honestly would not be surprised if he's in the All-Star game next year.
We know Michael Porter Jr. is a lottery pick, and everyone has very high expectations on him. So besides the injury history, so what's his ceiling in the future?
In the future, I mean, he can be a potential all-star player. For this season, I think that he's going to continue to come off the bench. I think that he could potentially give them maybe 12 to 14 points a game, along with 8 or 9 rebounds. He's an unbelievable rebounder. He has a knack for getting on the glass and hitting the glass hard. His length, his timing, his anticipation are all fantastic. He is still learning his sort of getting his legs under him on the defensive end for the Nuggets, but offensively his gifts are apparent, and he is going to have a huge role in however far they go this playoffs.
Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate it.